Hello, hello, hello,
Hello,
hello.
all Three
We got,
Stooges.
yeah, we're going to talk about them, but we'll talk about them some other time. We have the one, the only good beer, bad movie connoisseur, Horror himself, Pete Quint, is back in action.
Hey, Cam, it's great to hear your voice, bud. It's been too long.
It's all good, man. How's the cheese, man? It's the beer,
How's the
man.
cheese? Cheese is good over here. I just got some Limburger the other day, so I'm gonna grab some of that after we eat, and hope it doesn't give me nightmares.
I mean, I guess unless there's cocaine in it, I don't know.
I don't
what
know.
nightmare feel.
You get to my age, sometimes things do funny things to your tummy at night.
Ooh, get those probiotics, my dude.
That's right. That's right. How you been, bud? Well,
I can't
you
complain.
have been prolific. You are dropping so many episodes. I can't keep up. I gotta cherry pick a lot of them. Like this one's interesting. Ooh, I gotta listen to that one. I can't keep up with you, dude. You're incredible.
It's all good. I just want to entertain people, dude.
Yeah, it's great.
If it's all for nothing, well, so be it. But
oh, it's so much fun to see your shows drop into my my podcatcher almost on a daily basis anymore.
That's probably why everyone's like, "Hey, write it down there." Look at Death Pinch.
That's right.
Shut up. Take a week off. Well, so you have no shortage of infamous movies, and I just always love how you'll retort back. You're like, good movies. You're in the wrong business, kid.
Right. Oh, we only do it once a month, so we try to make it a good one. We're gonna do Legend here in a couple of months. Yeah. I even went out and bought the damn is it the Arrow box set, I think?
There's an Arrow box set. Of course there is.
Of course there is, right? Or Shout Factor, one of the two. I forget. I just laid down the cash today for it. So
does Ridley Scott insinuate that Tom Cruise is a replicant?
I was on a Tim Curry kick, and I messaged the guys and said, "Hey, what do you say we do Legend? I've never seen this stinker." And Dave was so excited. He's like, "I want to do everything. Let me manage this one." So I turned the reins over to Dave. We're going to record that one in a few weeks, so that's going to be a lot of fun.
Perfect. Freaking Legend, man. And this is where it gets just hysterical how so many different 80s fantasy movies, like even trash, like, Death Stalker, Beastmaster, like, and then we get other camp like Lady Hawk and what have you, and just everyone varies on it. And it's
Matthew
just
Broderick. Oh my goodness.
Before he was car crashing. Oh, too soon.
Right.
Michelle Pfeiffer, Rutger Hauer, and making you totally forget that he's an evil cyborg or Hitcher.
Oh my God. It's been decades since I've seen that film.
I'll never forget just the slow motion shot. It's just like total 80s.
Oh yeah.
Of course, saved at the last minute. You're like, oh, of course. So here's a funny fact. Like Willow, George Lucas was on record as saying this was his version of Lord of the Rings. However, not every critic was familiar with Lord of the Rings, so they instantly were like, he's just doing a fantasy version of Star Wars minus spaceships and bots. And it's just so funny.
He kind of did.
He totally did. But I mean, this queen in this movie is totally in for Palpatine. There's just no way around it. But it is so funny how this was what, like, when Peter Jackson actually went and adapted Lord of the Rings, this was he was on record as saying he wanted a more fantasy version of a Braveheart or a Gladiator type film, as well as some visuals similar to the 70s Ralph Bakshi cartoon. However, he then also listed a bunch of movies that he did not want this film to be like. And I think Beastmaster was there, and Willow was like the first one he listed. He's like, and people were like, oh, why would he hate Willow? I'm like, well, to be fair, guys, this movie was hot shit back in the day in the worst possible way. No one liked it.
I don't remember anybody liking this, and it was a big budget movie. Outside of, well, I think it won a couple of awards for costuming and
sound
visual
mixing,
effects,
probably. Yeah.
It was a pretty film. The landscapes were gorgeous.
The DVD was so heavily promoted because.
But it was kind of a hot mess. The whole movie was. It didn't feel like the actors were really into it, and I even if Lucas says he wanted to be a Lord of the Rings, he really just kind of retold Star Wars in a lot of the beats. Like you had those two little brownies that were, you had a tall one and a short one, so they were the comic relief, the R2D2 and C3PO of the film.
Yes.
You had the Emperor
Even more
Palpatine or Lord
annoying.
Vader, this gal who was super evil, and she was evil just for evil's sake. You had the hero Warwick Davis. You had Val Kilmer, who was the Han Solo of the movie.
You're right. And much like in real life, he was very grumpy and hard to control.
Yeah. I don't remember the gal's name, but she was
Jonah Wally, who he later married.
Val Kilmer married Joanna Wally.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good for him. She's a cutie. I like her. Yeah. So
did you ever see that noir film Kill Me Again that they were in a year later?
No, never seen that.
So there you go.
Well, yeah, it was just like she was a, I don't want to say Princess Leia, but she was a tough as nails gal who fell in love with the scoundrel, and it was like, oh man, there's a lot of the beats of Star Wars is in Willow, and if Lucas was going for something different, he missed. I mean, you had straight up the Force in it toward the end as the White Witch or whatever, the Obi-Wan stand-in, grabbed the wand using the Force. So I don't know. It seems like it was such a good idea, and you had good people in there. I just don't think the script was. I wonder how much. It was
pretty loose. It was kind of like at the halfway point. I feel like I wouldn't, if someone were to tell me the Wheat siblings from Alien and the Ewok movies worked on this, I would believe it, because they have a very narrow plot, but it's pretty much, Ron Howard. I'm really surprised that he worked with Lucas on this and then he turned down directing, prequels and other Lucas projects. So I don't know. I really am. I feel like throughout several featurettes, and especially in the excellent Disney Plus Industrial Light and Magic docudrama series, they talked so much about how everyone was uncomfortable, getting familiar with swordplay, and Howard had never done effects, so he was just really constantly just communicating with
Lucas,
the effects guy.
Oh, okay, sure.
He was like, "So where's it going to be?" Okay, never done that, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, he was really young, and you know what? The effects were good. ILM did a bang up job on the stop motion, the morphing. I mean, in today's standards, it's certainly dated, but for the time, it was great. I mean, if I can go through the Wayback Machine, turn my brain back to 1988, that all that morphing with the as Willow's trying to bring the good witch back into her human form, that was something else.
Yeah, right. Start making all these crooning noises.
Yeah, and of course that gal is your Yoda substitute.
Oh, totally. Older lady. Now here's the ultimate question.
Oh yeah,
is this Warwick's best role to date, or is it more fun just seeing him be an Ewok, or would you prefer the trashy stuff like Leprechaun?
Oh man, you're pulling my heartstrings, because I love them Leprechaun movies, dude. I love them to death. I don't care how totally. They're terrible, and I love them.
Oh yeah, especially part 3 from 5. Oh my god, just when he starts rapping with all the gangsters, you're just like, this is amazing. And
Leprechaun in the Hood. Oh my
Ice-T literally looks the whole movie like no one told him what to do except react. So he's like, I guess I'm gonna kill this fucking leprechaun.
Right. Best, I don't know. He was a fine actor. I don't think he had a lot to work with. He was also extremely young. He was only like 17 or 18 years old at the time. God. So he was super young. So I got to give him a little bit of break for that, because I know he's acting as an adult, but he's still a child at the time. What was that? He did a sitcom.
Life's Not Short.
That's it.
There were Merchant and Ricky Gervais.
Very funny parts and some very uncomfortable parts of that.
And then they do the unofficial Willow reunion, and I love how Vol's playing a douchebag version of himself. And he's like, "Oh, by the way, you're paying you're
Yeah,
paying the entire restaurant bill, and he just runs
yeah.
away.
I
I'm
enjoyed
surprised he
that.
did that. He must be so oblivious to all the stories about
Or
me.
he just doesn't give a shit anymore. I don't know. Make some money, dude. Good for
Well,
you.
and that's the other irony is just like we're both mad at him and sorry for him because he lost his signature voice, and then at the same time you just hear all the how he was a pro on Heat and Ghost of the Darkness, and then how he's just a total PRICK on
Yeah.
freaking Batman and Red Planet of all movies, and he's just arguing with people who he's known for years, and you're like, you're for real, just like the most petulant argument, and you're just not
Oh,
going to come out of your trailer.
well, I don't know a whole lot about that, but that sounds terrible.
Well,
Sounds like he got too big for his britches.
totally, because Conan O'Brien would even like show funny like just photos of people at the beaches and what have you. And what's so funny is it took his agent finally telling him, "Hey, maybe you might want to lose some weight," because he didn't notice. I'm like, well, and then I saw that editorial he wrote where he was just like, "I didn't know what to do with all my fame." I'm like, ask, what should I do? Because
Wow.
clearly you know why you want to get into this, and I just feel very sad because I'm trying to not be on a soapbox here, but
Mhm.
you would think like with whoever mentored him, that was enough. But I don't know. I really don't, because it just seemed like he went to some kind of Malkovich kind of acting studio, and then he just kind of went from there. And I think by the time he was in the doors, which was like 3 years after this, I think at that point he was just like, I will do whatever, and if I don't like it, I'm gonna just talk shit to everyone.
That sucks. That's sad. That's really sad. I wish people would appreciate where they are and how they got there instead of just becoming a prima donna. But nothing you can do about that.
No.
Not a bit.
Do you think he owns this role here, or like you
I
say, is he one of the others who just seems like he's going with the flow but not sure how to swing the sword?
I read somewhere that he ad-libbed a lot of his lines. So and I think that comes out
Maybe that was a Spielberg note.
Some of it, right?
Hey, Steven, this is Ronnie. How do you deal with people like this? Well, Ronnie, you're a big boy now. I think you can.
Right, you can do it yourself.
When I deal with kids on ET and what have you, I usually just go with a natural everyday conversation. Okay. Okay.
Sounds good. I'll try that.
Can I put my brother Clint in here? No. We don't have the budget.
Right.
I think that's for Apollo 13.
Yeah, I don't think anybody really was a great actor in this. Davis was fine. I thought Joanne was really rough. I don't know how young she was in this film, but
she definitely looked like she wanted to kill him, like they were making inappropriate jokes behind her.
She was delivering. I thought she was delivering lines, though. I mean, she was reading her lines and waiting for the other person to read their lines and back and forth. I didn't feel like she was really acting. It felt like a young person, a big job for a young person. Maybe a little more. Maybe she bit off a little more she could chew. I'm not really sure. Kilmer seemed to enjoy himself, but man, I thought he was trying to do a Han Solo way too much, and it just I wasn't charmed by him like I was with Harrison Ford. The probably the best actors were Kevin Pollak and his sidekick.
He's another one who gets kind of
completely forgotten about Kevin Pollak and all the voices he can do.
Who's the other guy? I couldn't find anything on the other partner in crime of his.
I got it up here. Rick Overton. I know nothing about that dude, but I recognize Kevin Pollak's voice right away. And the two of them were clearly having a blast because I'm pretty sure they just went, don't give a shit. Let's just have a good old time. And they were definitely hamming it up through the entire thing. And I enjoyed their performance. But I thought the biggest flaw of this movie is I think it leaned into the comedy too much. It wanted to be this.
It's good.
I wanted to be this epic, and they wanted to create this fantasy world and all that. But at every turn, they were trying to tell a joke. And I don't know if they were, I'm not really sure who this was for. Were they really trying to make a kids movie, or were they going for the fantasy adult uh, out there in the audience. Because 88, boy, you're at the tail end of the sword and sandal years. This is well past Conan the Destroyer, Beastmaster, Ator, Yor, Hawk the Slayer.
Oh, there you go.
Red Sonja, the Barbarians, Krull. Yeah, that's right, Krull. You're at the very tail end of it, and there were some. I'm not going to tell you that I'm not going to tell you any of those were great films, but Conan the Barbarian was good. Krull was fun. Hawk the Slayer was silly, but it was also fun. These movies had humor in them, but they weren't trying to be a comedy. And I felt like this was really trying hard to be a comedy.
That's true. Because like I see people complain about, I don't know, Temple of Doom or Last Crusade having too much humor. It works for me on Indiana Jones for some reason. Well, yeah,
they're charming people. I mean, my God, how you've got Harrison Ford and Sean Connery,
Short Round,
two of the most charming people in Hollywood. How can you not love it?
Right?
Yeah, good old Short Round. Again, charming people.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. There's lots to like and there's lots to not like. It's one of those. I've seen all kinds of people come around on this. I've seen people discover for the first time and say this is my top 20, like fantasy movies, and then others say there's a reason I avoided this for so long. Oh my God, this is garbage. George Lucas overrated. And so it's interesting how it's on Disney Plus, but I don't think it is anymore because the TV show wasn't too big a hit.
I watched it on Disney Plus. That's where I saw it.
Oh, okay.
So it's there, although it's also, if you dig deep enough, you can find it on YouTube. And that's where I watched it at 1.25 speed. And that's about the most perfect speed you can watch this movie at. Because this freaking movie is 2 hours long. It has no business being 2 hours long. Oh my goodness. It's
Independence Day, should be longer in comparison. But yeah. I'm with you. There's lots to like. I still have fond memories just seeing it at age, I want to say 14 or something. That's when the DVD came out. But at the same time, like you say, it's not going to be something you watch every day. And if you, kind of like every other apocalyptic movie, there are several times where it's like they're flat out just throwing that baby down a slope, and you're like, I don't think that works.
The sled scene as they're sledding down the mountain.
It's in the trailer even. It's like a Princess Bride segment.
That was it's little Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom style too.
There you go.
You could even talk about James Bond a little bit with that scene, and I enjoyed it. I thought that was a lot of fun.
Gavin O'Hurley from Death Wish 3 and all these other junky movies is the villain, and he seems definitely lost in another movie.
Yeah, that's the guy with the skull mask you talking about?
I think so. Yeah. He's like, and it's like are you doing a Skeletor cosplay?
He's somewhere between Skeletor and Darth Vader, I think.
That was a year after that. I'm pretty sure everyone's notes were "Don't be like He-Man."
Mm-hmm. So, did you watch the show?
I did. On
Disney Plus. Did you?
Yeah. Well, actually, so here's the thing: it just got removed from Disney Plus, so I used my sources, if you will, on the internet, and just to finally confirm, like, what's the problem? Why are, all the trolls online calling it woke? And why are the other people who are diehard fans just not digging this and saying, it's just kind of confusing, really. Like, I saw so many people who were also going to give it a chance, but, opted out after the second episode. And I think you said you tried the pilot and you're just like, yeah, fuck this. And all I can say is the set design and music is there, but then there's all this other stuff where it's like, okay, that's a fun 80s rock music, but what's it doing in a fantasy movie?
Oh, okay. So I think saying fuck it is that's strong. I just it was beautiful. You're absolutely right. The costuming and the sweeping landscapes were gorgeous. But like when they first find Willow and he gives this speech like, I'm the fifth wizard of the eighth house of the Sand Dragons or something like that,
where he's been since
my brain shut off. And I don't know if I put this in air quotes, a maturity level or something, or just I'm over the fantasy films at this point in time in my life for the time.
That's being. A good point, because
maybe I've outgrown them. Like I've certainly outgrown the Marvel movies here recently.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
just,
I'm with you.
I just don't have time for them
You
anymore.
don't need anything after phase 4. I mean, I can enjoy Sam Raimi doing his own thing with Doctor Strange 2, and Shang-Chi has some fun martial arts, but
Yeah,
at the
them
same
Spider-Man
time,
movies were good too. The Spider-Verse movies are pretty
right. And then
darn
the
good.
rest is just like, okay, well, when do we say no more sequels? Because there's all these other franchises get mocked because they keep going and keep going and keep going. And it's like, well, okay. And I'm actually okay with Michael B. Jordan taking Rocky away, for instance, from, Stallone. It's like, yeah, because he's gonna, knowing him, he'll likely do what he's always done, where he gets spoiled in success and then he turns out more and then it goes downhill and then he reactivates it 20 years later. And there's no need. We gotta learn from history here, buddy.
Right,
We can't
right.
just let it be. Just end it there. There doesn't need to be 5+ sequels, but yeah, I mean, some franchises can get out of it, and then there's others where it's just, yeah, I'm with you. I have to just kind of all of a sudden not care. I'm just like, okay, well, I was down with this for the count, but if it's gonna just keep going on and on, I'm no patsy.
It's so much to keep up on, and
Yeah,
it's
and
I
the
can't.
millennials are really immature. They've never heard of any of this classic 70s music. I'm like, go talk to your parents. Come on. If it took Iron Man for you to hear a Black Sabbath, what are you talking about?
Yeah, but it does introduce them to some music that they hadn't been exposed to before. If I'm listening to music and I had a kid, I'm sure my kid would go, ugh, old music, I don't want to listen to this shit. So, but if Chris Pratt's dancing to it in Guardians of the Galaxy, they're gonna go, well, that's pretty damn cool. And then when they go from there and they discover a whole new world of music outside of whatever is out there today. Funny though, I've been thinking about this. Like I said that I watched Willow and I watched the first episode, and I think maybe I'm done with this kind of movie. I feel like a hypocrite because I just saw the latest Dungeons and Dragons movie, and I had a ball. That was a great film. It wasn't great. It wasn't. I mean, it was by no means a great film, but it entertained the hell out of me. It was not Chris Pratt, Chris Evans, Chris Pine. Goddamn Chris's.
All these Chris's, yeah, I know.
Right, all these Chris.
Jesus, Chris. But yeah, I'm with you. I saw it in theater, and while the villain was kind of irritating, I was just like, it took a while to get going. I was like, yeah, but see, this understands how to talk about the rules of this game without, because I don't know about you, I cannot play a single round D&D. Just brain constantly blowing up, with all the, just like any RPG, just the unlimited places and outcomes you can do. It's like Monopoly if it never ends.
Right.
This is
the game that never ends.
The game that, yeah, okay, Lamshot.
Right.
I just needed more puppets.
Yeah, I played D&D in college when I had time, but in my adult life, hey man, if you got time and the energy, go for it, because I think it's highly entertaining. But it's not for me anymore. And I liked how the Dungeons and Dragons movie introduced this world and these concepts in a digestible way, where young fans who don't know a damn thing about how any of it works didn't need to know anything about how it worked.
And you would have thought that would have been the case in the 2000s too. And it just seems like I'm both happy for it and I'm annoyed, because now I'm wondering, because it's kind of like how Caroloco, has this surprise hit, T2 Judgment Day, and then every movie's got to look and sound like that, while bigger emphasis on the explosions and more problematic stories. So it's interesting how so many people kind of go in waves, and with the surprise hit with Illumination Animations, Super Mario Brothers movies, is like, what were they saying in the boardroom? But I think I kind of have a better feel of it, because like I've talked to plenty of filmmakers who became infamous for doing all these crazy movies, and the stories they would share with me on how some of these movies were doomed beforehand. Like I talked to the director of Ballistic X versus Sever, and he's a nice dude, but it's just so funny how he was pitching Blade 2, and the New Line Cinema exec was like, he was pitching a cool East meets West kind of Yakuza and triads fighting, but they're vampires. And the new line is Zach, instead of getting the vibe he's going for, like Black Rain or 48 Hours, he's like, oh, so you want to make a Rush Hour type blockbuster? How did you get Rush Hour for that? So I do feel like a lot of that is still present. There's still these guys who are asleep at the wheel. They're looking at the wrong direction. They're not completely wrong, but they're still missing a good chunk of the point.
Yeah, I want to say probably what movie execs are kind of like our government, where it's a bunch of old white guys in charge, old rich white guys in charge, and they're more interested in making a buck and turning something out quickly. And the guard hasn't changed yet.
We'll return after these messages.
Hello and welcome to Culture Shocked, the pop culture podcast brought to you by four aging millennials and our outdated opinions. Join us every Tuesday as we discuss movies, TV, games, and even music, new and old.
Dude, what do you think you're doing?
Are you seriously trying to record a promo without us right now?
Well, yeah.
Dude, you can't just do the promo by yourself. Who's gonna listen to that?
Yeah, and you probably haven't even told them that we're a pop culture podcast where we always agree on everything. For instance, the Sam Raimi trilogy, easily being the best of the Spider-Man movies.
No. But I think we can all agree that Jaws is a classical masterpiece.
Nope, don't like that. But we do all agree that the sequel trilogy of Star Wars is the best in the Skywalker saga, right, guys?
That comment is so ridiculous. I don't even know where to begin.
Anyways, that'll do it from all of us here at Culture Shock. Thanks for listening.
Hey, it's Brent Pope, the host of Breakfast with Brent Pope. You've seen me on some of your favorite TV shows saying things like, give it up, Jimmy. You got to sink this putt to win. On Breakfast with Brent Pope, I sit down with guests from the entertainment world, and we do it all over breakfast. Or should I say Brentfast? Every week on Brentfast, you get inside Hollywood info and tips, great breakfast recs and booty debates. Most of all, you get the most delightful 30 minutes of your week. So dig in. It's Brentfast time. Listen at Brentfast.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are found.
Do you ever find yourself thinking about who would win in a fight between Goku and Superman? Hi, I'm James Gavsey, and on the Who Would Win show, me and my co-host Ray ignore anything important happening in the outside world and debate fictional battles between characters from comics, movies, and video games.
We got a new show every week, and almost always am I the winner.
Yeah, not true, Ray.
In the past, we've discussed such matches as Captain America versus Darth Vader, Solid Snake versus the Iron Giant, classic matchups like RoboCop versus Terminator, and even the Muppets versus Sesame Street.
That one was crazy. So if you're a fan of geek culture and love a spirited debate, check out the Who Would Win show wherever you get your podcasts, or check us out at whowouldwinshow.com.
We let things pile up in the DVR, we add them to our queues, we wait for the DVDs and Blu-rays. We time shift. The Time Shifters Podcast. Sci-fi, horror, fantasy, superheroes, comedy, action, film, television, maybe some not-so-current events. Find us on iTunes or at timeshifterspodcast.com.
Cool thing about Blind Knowledge is we are in multiple countries. We are worldwide all across the globe. We are in the US, we are in the UK, we are in Canada, Germany, India, Japan. We're in Australia, y'all. BlindKnowledge.com. Now back to the feature presentation.
They're afraid of being canceled instead of getting rid of all the toxic guys. Like, hey, yeah, do that movie. It'll win all the awards at the Jewish Award Show. Well, why not make a movie that's just good and you get fame the right way? But yeah, it is very much like politics. They can't win fair and square. They got
right. They have to be right instead of making something good.
And got to do a few more bribes and then deny. I
think there's some, especially in horror anymore. I think you're getting a lot of really good directors, really good I don't know, producers making sure that things are turning out well. And we're in a golden age of horror right now, ladies and gents. Enjoy it before it turns into horror in the 90s.
Oh, well, I don't know, man. I think they're going to do Scream to Death to where everyone's just like, okay, kill it now. Again.
I still haven't seen the new one, but the last one, what was it? 6 was the
Second to last one was 5. So
5, yeah, 5. I liked 5. It was fun. It was a fun ending for the original cast. So I think that Scream is going to continue on with some new faces.
I hope so, man.
I haven't seen the new one yet, but I'm eager to pop it in the DVD.
It's long story short, it's kind of like creator Kevin Williamson's other show, The Following.
I'm not familiar with that one either.
Okay, that's all good. So basically, just all these copycat cults going out.
Oh, okay. That would make sense.
But yeah, I'm with you. There's so many kinds of oversaturation, and D&D. If people want to say that's the best fantasy movie of this decade, I'll let them have it, because fantasy has just suffered. Like before Lord of the Rings, there was just trashy, Saturday morning equivalent infamous movies that, like Dragon Slayer that played on CBS, but studios weren't too crazy about, even despite the audience really liking it on home video. And then Lord of the Rings is a surprise smash success and even gets all the awards. And then once again, we're back to square one. People want to do the imitation game. And they're like, well, let's make it like Lord of the Rings.
Oh, shit. This Cocaine Bear has already spawned
yes,
3 or 4 cocaine animal movies. And boy, none of them are going to be any good.
Oh, of course not. But people are still going to watch it because
I'm real surprised that the Meg hasn't had any copycats, unless I
surprising too.
Haven't been looking too close.
That could very well be it. Something's floating their oyster and making them say, "Hey, put cocaine on the first part." Charles Band is going crazy on it, like cocaine dolls or some shit. I don't know.
There's a shark and a raccoon, cocaine shark, cocaine raccoon coming out.
Sharks versus coons. Oh wait, that'd be a slur. Don't use that.
Oh no, careful there. But Atlantic Rim came out before Pacific Rim, quite literally. So come on, Asylum, step up the game, guys. Let's get it on. I can't believe they didn't do a Dungeons and Dragons something. That's shocking to me.
It really is. And how do you waste Jeremy Irons and Bruce Payne? But basically, the reason both, in retrospect, really, Dungeons and Dragons and Mario Brothers are literally the same movie, because they literally were the same kind of deal, where New Line Cinema was just taking a gamble on what a husband and wife team owned who had no experience making movies. So yeah, it just seems like now we're at that phase where all the comedians are doing horror movies, all the indie guys are crowdfunding their sci-fi films, and then Netflix is kind of just taking over direct-to-video made for TV.
Been doing a fine job at times, for sure.
Yeah,
I think that even Hulu's got some nice stuff out there too.
Oh yeah, Hulu. Yeah, when it first was a thing, it was so tiresome with all the stuff they took down. But I think even as the Disney takeover happened, they started getting better at just saying, hey, yeah, there's no other place to offer all our content, so it's got to be on Hulu. We got to take all the classic, David E. Kelly, Dick Wolf, and other shows on there, and now we got to get all the hysterical sitcoms on Fox and NBC. But
you can have them.
Good heaven, yeah, and good Lord, you guys repeating history. Yeah, I don't know how they're gonna. If you were to say even do a Willow type fantasy movie nowadays, I really don't know what it would look like. And I just find it very bizarre how this show was like dead on arrival. Ron Howard was like promoting it, but then kind of vanished from the spotlight, and then it gets canceled. Then there's like a TV line article saying there will be a season 2, which will be rebooted of the reboot and grittier. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then it turns out that's a false news, because again, this is dead. So I do feel like Disney's kind of becoming a little bit like HBO Max, where they're constantly, while they're not concerned with renaming themselves, like Prince every other month, every other year, they're still kind of killing stuff and not doing anything with it. I'm like, well, I don't feel sorry for you. After all those millions were spent, you didn't give it a chance. And it's barely been a year and you've already killed this.
Yeah, it does make me sad when a show comes out and it has some potential and then it gets canned. I would so see
Batgirl. I'm more mad that, okay, let's say it's bad. those people who worked on it still deserve to have footage from it on their demo reel.
Sure, but it's also going to cost the studio money, and we already had that discussion. So,
yeah, I don't think they know how to use any kind of money, because it seems like it ultimately comes down to, let's complain. Oh, that's too much. I can't justify 20 million. And even though the 20 million is often going to the stars and the directors, so it's like, well, if they can't do a banged up job for that amount of money, then you really do have to kill this project.
And then you've got some small, oh goodness, I just lost my train of thought, dude.
It's all good.
There goes
Willow.
Bye-bye.
Willow does this. So
Yes.
there's lots to like, there's lots to not care for. If this doesn't make your top fantasy movies, where would you put this? Like, as a recognition?
Boy, as far as, if I got to look at my list of fantasy movies, you kind of got to look at like Conan the Barbarian and the latest Dungeons and Dragons. I think are, as far as good movies, those are as good as they get. But the others, man, are just, I'm looking to be entertained. So you've got Hawk the Slayer with the silly string of doom at the end
by Lucio Fulci.
Oh yeah. So what this kind of is somewhere in the middle, I would think. If I had to throw a top 20 out there per se, I think this would fall somewhere solidly in the middle. It is beautiful. The landscape, the costuming, the special effects, the stop motion. I think all those pieces were there. I just the amount of humor that I tried to pigeonhole in this was off-putting to me. Yeah, it was just too much. How about you? Where would you stick it?
It's an in-between movie. I would show it to kids. There's not
for sure
too much that I'd have to worry about. Okay, nothing too risque, nothing gruesome, even for 80s PG standards. But at the same time, like, if you're not into fantasy, I'm not going to recommend it.
Don't watch this if you're not into fantasy. That's for sure. I read the first book also, because Chris Claremont, who was one of my favorite Marvel writers back in the 80s and 90s, or maybe I think 70s even, for heaven's sakes, wrote the Shadow Moon, I think.
Shadows of the Moon.
That might have been it. And I bought the book and I read it because I was a huge reader at the time. And I just started reading. I'm like, boy, this sounds familiar. And did a little bit of research on it. And by God, yeah, it's Willow. It's the continuation of the story, though.
Wow. Okay, I can't find this.
Yeah, Chris Claremont wrote.
Okay, I see it. Shadow Dawn, which is written by George Lucas, and Shadow Moon, and then The Wind and the. Why is it? Wow. Okay.
It was Shadow something.
Yeah. Okay. So Shadow Moon and Shadow Dawn. Wow. Nice find.
I thought they were I thought it was a trilogy, though. It doesn't matter.
I think these were parts 2 and 3. Basically, they were kind of like the Blade Runner books.
Oh, okay. Okay. So
movie is the part 1.
Okay. That would make sense.
Good find.
Yeah, I read that the Shadow Moon, and I did not take into context that it was a continuation of the story until maybe 4 or 5 chapters in and go, what? I know this.
I'm seeing the Shadow Star too, so I guess it's a quadrilogy, man.
Oh, okay, there you go.
So Shadow Moon was first in 95, 96 was Shadow Dawn, and then 2000 had Shadow Star. But that's a good find, because like there's way more dragons and everything, and it seems like that's the main complaint about the movie is how the creature at the end that's flying around kind of doesn't look 100%.
Like when they were trying to get into the castle, that 2-headed
giant beast
with the chin, with the Bruce Campbell chin. Yes. I thought that thing was cool as hell.
Yeah, I thought so too. But I see so many people shitting on it. I'm like, guys, it's motion capture. It's not gonna. It's the Harry Hosson effect. It's not gonna.
Shitting on it? Are the people today shitting on it, or people back in '88 shitting on it?
Both, dude. I'm seeing
really.
People...
it was good. It was good stop motion.
I would have thought so too,
crazy.
Dude.
They're crazy.
And it seems like they just think everything has to look like a certain caliber, like Marvel CGI, and it's just like, well, I don't.
Back in '88, you didn't have Marvel CGI in '88, so the people back in '88 are just flat wrong. The people today can't remove themselves from today's special effects and understand that things like Metropolis were groundbreaking at the time.
Yeah, Metropolis,
and
man.
Certainly, and it was all sets, for heaven's sakes, sets and miniatures. They just don't understand, and it breaks my heart that you can't take into consideration, like,
yeah, dude, I have seen trolls on the internet. I'm not saying they're all trolls, but a lot of them are just oblivious to how shit works. And like, they were complaining about the walkers in like both Star Wars and RoboCop. I'm like, get out of here,
dude. Oh my
that is
God.
how they animated it then, and that thing's still freaky looking.
That's all they had back then, and it was the best there was at the time. I assure you, they clearly don't know a lot I think
they
sad.
Just like to shit talk. They got the gamer mentality where it's just like,
I got no time for those people. Zero time.
I heard it. Altogether, I mean, so since we're on a good tangent, did you ever bother with any of did you know there was a comic book that was basically adapting the film?
In 1988, it would shock me if there wasn't a comic book adaptation, because that's something that happened in the 80s, even a novelization of the book. Hell, I owned both Aliens and Predator, the paperback.
There you go.
Yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me, because that's when Dark Horse was gobbling up all the movie franchises and doing again, Aliens and Predator, Terminator as well. But I'm not familiar with the Willow. So
the Wicca was heavily noting how like there's several scenes that just aren't even in the final movie. That happened in the Star Wars comic book adaptation. Yeah.
Jabba the Hutt was
you don't know how much
in the original Star Wars comic book adaptation, because the Marvel would get the script and they would write, they would not animate, but they would draw the script itself, and if there's a late cut, then there's a late cut, and it makes its way into the comics, and it's not in the movie.
The TV edit, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't pull a Cobra here, where it's like all the character development was left on the floor in favor of all the violence.
Yeah.
NRA ads.
So no, you've read the comic adaptation?
Yeah, it kind of reads like the Ralph Botsky adaptation of Lord of the Rings. There was a comic in Spain and they translated in English, and same kind of deal. I think you dig the artwork, and I'll even share it with you.
Yeah, is this a vintage? It's from 89 or something?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Nice. Yeah. Marvel, I assume? Or
let's see.
Who's the publisher? Just out of curiosity.
Yep, Marvel. Bob Hall was the artist. Mary Jo Duffy was the writer.
Oh,
and from August to October the same year this movie came out, 88. So
there you go. That's I would read that. That'd be a lot of fun.
Sure thing.
The movie is entertaining if this is your thing. If fantasy is not your thing, this is a hard pass for you. I assure you. So don't go out of your way.
I really don't know what would make it better, other than, like you say, maybe tighten up the editing a bit.
It doesn't need to be 2 hours. There's probably a couple scenes you cut out, and I think you're trying too hard to tell jokes. Everybody is. Mad Morrigan's telling jokes.
How would you rate the action in this?
Fair. What were you mentioned that people were having a hard time learning swordplay. You could tell.
It just shows.
Easy to tell that they were not comfortable.
There's a scene at the end
swords
where he's in the rain, and it looks like he just walked past a guy, and you hear I'm like,
yeah.
Was that meant to be in there, or was that just to be intimidating? Or
and the action was definitely for kids. I mean, this is a PG. Yeah, it's PG film.
Yeah.
It was definitely made for kids. There were toys, if I remember right. They're probably worth a mint, because I don't think I ever saw any on the shelf.
Let's look it up.
I'm pretty sure there is a two-headed dragon toy out there somewhere. I'm pretty sure. Maybe I'm crazy.
Okay, there's a vintage Tonka set, and
was it Tonka? Tonka did this?
Yeah, not kidding.
Wow.
Yep,
How
they got
about
the
that?
dragon and everything. Or actually, it might be one of the boars, but yeah, they even have all the freaking henchmen and
Sure. I think I've seen that dragon at a couple of conventions, a couple of toy shows, maybe. So it's one of those triggers like, oh, I know that monster. And then when I was watching the movie today, I went, that's where I know that monster. It's that toy I see every once in a blue moon. But I couldn't tell you if I ever saw him in the stores in the Kmart.
Yeah, I definitely never saw him at any comic book shop or anything. Although I'm sure if you want to go like just travel around the entire country, you'll find something at a thrift store.
Yeah. Oh, if you find one of these at a thrift store, it's got to be worth some money.
You're right, but that's the fun of a thrift store.
'Cause it's
People
just-
throw shit away that you can sell for 30 or 50 bucks online.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's I think they were really trying to start a franchise, or Lucas was for sure. And sadly it just didn't work, man.
No, it's fine. This is kind of like Independence Day, I noticed, where it seems to vary based on one's mood. 'Cause,
Okay.
I will see people who were like, "Oh, Independence Day, that's a classic, seen a million times," and there's others like, "Oh man, I haven't seen it in a while, but oh, it's some dog shit." And so it does seem like, I don't know. I just feel like kind of people, kind of like when they're in a college venue where they get creative with just how to describe it. It's like they become either like too unimpressed with certain jokes that are being recirculated, or they're fine with it, but they want to be the one to tell it. And I don't know. This reminds me of jokes that have been told so many times to where, because of the bastardization, no one actually knows the actual way to tell the joke. The satire is too good.
Yeah, that's I was, I don't know. I was just hoping for, man, either really lean into the comedy, make it a kids thing, or back off a little bit. I'm not real sure. I'm not a filmmaker, so I'm just talking out the side of my face right now. I'm not sure how to fix this one. I usually, sometimes I have a pretty good idea how to fix things. This one I'm not real sure, because there were a lot of really good things about it. It's clearly too long.
2.5 or a 3 out of 5 kind of rating. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's a movie. It's 2.5 is fair. It's not a strong recommend, but
it's not Beastmaster 2.
No, it certainly isn't. Few things are Beastmaster 2.
Because that's Jim Wynorski.
Right. But yeah, that's my opinion on Willow. I'm surprised. I wasn't sure how much I would have to say about this, but clearly I did.
It's all good, dude. It's all good. Where can we find Good Beer Bad Movie Night?
Oh, well, we're online, so find us online. Now, we do have a Good Beer Bad Movie Night podcast.com. We're on Facebook, pretty active on both Facebook and Instagram. You can check us out on both those places. We come out once a month because there's 4 of us. 2 of us have, well, one couple has a kid. I am a child myself. And
I always lose track of the various intros and you guys giving each other shit.
Yeah. So anyway, it's
barely a description of the plot. Well, you try giving it a plot because it got none.
It got none. We're 4 very old friends that have been around for a while and have made fun of movies for quite some time. And now we've put it to Mike.
You guys should see our conversations sometimes. I'm talking to Peter like, get into Training Day and Street Kings, man. He's like, I only know David Ayer from a super movie I didn't care for. I'm like, God damn it. Then he sold out.
Oh, we do have a great time. So if you want to check out a new podcast, come on over to the show. It's a good time. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Again, we're pretty active on there.
If you want to see him just describe a very hard to describe movie and then just make fun of just how it just kind of imploded his mind.
Which one?
Oh, so many. Well, where are we now? You've gone toe to toe with all kinds of like exorcisms, demonic possessions, asylum crap, and all kinds of just stuff where it's just like, I'm not even sure what we just watched or not.
The last we have a show coming out here in a few days, so tune in for that one. We watched a found footage film called They're Watching, and much like Willow, it was almost a good movie, and then it falls apart at some time. And that was a good time. We had a really good conversation about that one. So
sweet. That is awesome. And with that being said, we've suffered enough. Watch it, don't watch it. It's a like it or hate it.
Yeah.
Goofy movie.
It's a good time. So, well, thanks for having me on, Cam. This is
Anytime,
this is always a pleasure. Let's not wait so long. Yeah, let's not wait so long.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening. It's a jacked up